What's up, everybody? So, as you know, the month of March, our instructional focus was student discourse. And so that's always been my strong suit, my wheelhouse. I mean, I love having kids interact. When I was teaching Spanish, I would love having kids interact with either games or just, I mean, they had to speak to each other because that was the nature of the course. But just because your course is not a language or foreign language course doesn't mean that it's not important for kids to talk to each other. Because believe it or not, the kids are going to learn more from each other than they are you. And it's just that studies have been done, and that's the way it is. So kids need to talk to each other. And although this is still a disciplinary campus, I mean, we still got to teach these kids. We got to do what's right for them, and there's a way to kind of get that done through structured student discourse. Okay, and so in last week's newsletter, I included this thing right here. All right, and it was discussion starters. Something like this helps out a lot because it gives the students the tools to be successful, but also it gives you the power to not let kids opt out of the conversation. Okay, and so whether you have this blown up like a poster and posted on the wall, or if you have them printed out small and taped to the desks, that can be a problem sometimes because bored kids start picking at it. I mean, it is what it is. Or you can print one out, and if they have folders, make sure it's in their folder. But you have to stick to it for it to work. The most important tab, I think, is the clarification tab here. But they're all, and the reason being is because the clarification tab is for the kids that don't understand, whether they weren't listening 100%, they didn't write it down on their notes, or maybe they are trying, they're just lost. Okay, so instead of just them saying, I don't know, and then you moving on to another teacher, no, we don't let them opt out of the conversation. So they have to ask, will you please repeat the question? Or will you please explain that again? Can you give me a second example? What do you mean by blank? One that's not on here, which to me is useful, is just, can I have a moment to ask a friend? Right? And so, yeah, they don't like if you ask Saul is in your class, and so you ask Saul a question and I don't know the answer, whether I wasn't 100% paying attention or I wasn't, or whatever it may be. I don't have the answer, but you're not going to let me opt out of the conversation. May I please ask a friend for help? Sure, I'll give you X amount of seconds. Let them turn to their elbow partner or somebody. Hey, what is this? What is this answer again? Let the student explain to them. Oh, well, the answer, whether it's math, oh, 2x plus 4 is whatever, or this is the way it is, or whatever. I'm ready to answer now. Okay, so to answer your question, Ms. Yell, or to answer your question, Mr. Johnson, is blank, 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 the answer that was just given to them. Okay, yes, that may sound like, oh, well, they were just given the answer. Well, they didn't have the answer before, and they still opted into the conversation. And now, no matter what, oh, well, now I have the answer, I can write it down, right? So those are little things, mainly just because they know that even if they're not paying attention, that they might get picked on to answer. It's more of an accountability thing. Now I have to pay attention because I know eventually my name's going to get called and I'm going to have to produce something. I won't be able to say I don't know. Okay? And then there's other stuff like if you're having a debate in there, like the way to disagree, or if y'all are discussing, like maybe it's ELA, y'all are discussing something that y'all just read, right? You want them to expand on it. So, you know, maybe student A answers one thing, and then, well, what about you, Kyle? What do you think? And so they have a sentence them here. Oh, well, added to what Saul said, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, so use this to your advantage. As a matter of fact, as we're wrapping up the fifth 6 weeks and we start in sitting in your classrooms, I want to see a little bit of this. I want to see who's going to put this into play. Okay. And so keep that in mind. Print it for yourself, print it for the kids. It's a great tool to use, and it's a great way to have structured student discourse in your classes. All right. And so now something fun. Okay. So this is a game called Marker Wars. Okay, Marker Wars was taught to me by when I was a teacher starting out by a lady named Stephanie Trocino. She has since gotten married. I don't know what her last name is now, but she was awesome. She was a great mentor, and she taught me this game. It's real fun. So obviously, I used to teach Spanish, so all these words are in Spanish. If you're social studies, you can add names on here or dates or whatever, whatever you need, whatever you're studying at the moment. Yeah, this is good for vocab, but you can do it in all sides. Get creative. You can do all sorts of things. So, what is marker words? So, you have all these down. So, these are also words in Spanish. There's the word español, there's the word strict, important, mathematics, PE. Like, you can kind of see some of the words that you might know. But so what it is you have to partner kids up. Okay, you give them a frenemy. Okay, a friend, but that they're competing against each other. You put the paper either between them or right across the desk, depending on how your classroom is set up. Okay, and so you, the teacher, are going to be like, okay, so the first word or the first thing that you need to find is now between each one, get creative. Like have the kids do roller coaster hands, or maybe they're elephants, or maybe they're like superhero. Like there's all kinds of stuff that you want them like engaged. Like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do antlers. We're deer now, right? And so they're waiting for this word. So, for example, the word ciencias, which is in the middle of the page, is science, right? It's science in Spanish. So you'd be like, the next word is science. So you're like me, I would say it in English, they have to find the Spanish word for science. Now, the first person to point to the word will win. So they point to the word, they think that, or whatever the answer that they think it is, and you give it a couple seconds. And then you say, okay, the answer to that was ciencias, or the answer to that was four, if it's a mathematical equation. I don't know. Um, and then boom, that player who pointed to it first gets the point. They can add little tally marks for themselves. Okay, and then they cross it out until you go through the whole thing. So it's like a review, something like, and it's really engaged. Trust me, the kids go crazy over it. They love this game. It does get competitive. So although yes, you're going to have kids being a little loud in your classroom, that fun is what they're going to remember. And it's an easy way to inject a little bit of fun. Now, you don't just break this game out every week. All right. It's like you have to earn to play this. Like you have to know how to act. Okay. So you go through it. Maybe next time you're like, all right, this time the next word is worth 5 points. Oh, they get kind of crazy or whatever, you know? And so the only rules are is there is no defense. You can't snatch the paper away. You can't box out. You can't put your whole hand on the paper where you're going to block out the end. It's got to be a finger. You got a point. And then the loser, whoever loses the game, has to go throw the paper away. Okay, so like you don't even have to give out prizes. The kids just like to compete. Okay, and so if you need more instruction on this, let me know, and I would gladly go and lead this for you. If you want to do this game, you're really interested in what it's going to look like. If you need me to lead it for you, I will certainly go and help. Okay, and so a way to further this game is a game called that I used to call Rapido, which means fast or speed or whatever. So now instead of pointing at the answer, it's essentially the same game, but you give every kid a dry erase marker because all of our desks you can write on, right? And so instead of them just pointing to the answer, now they have to produce the answer, right? So like if the word is like we're going off this same paper, and you say, okay, what is the word for math, right? So on the top right corner is matematica. So they have to see who's the first person that can write out the words matemática. So they write it down real quick, and then they put their marker down, and they go rapido, right? Like I'm done. And so that's a cool way that you can actually walk around, check people's answers. Wrong, wrong. That's correct. That's correct. Whoever wrote it faster between the frenemies will get that point, right? And then they erase it, and then you move on to the next word or the next thing. So, I mean, you can work for anything. Social studies. Who was the first president of the United States? Boom, they got to write George Washington or whatever. You know, make it your own. It's a fun way to, it's the same game, just one you're just pointing, the next one you're producing. So you're taking it a level up. Okay, so, and again, if you want me to run this game for you, we can certainly do that. I can come and help you if you just need me to coach you through it the first time. But I promise you, it's a great game that you can add to your tool belt that adds a little bit of fun. It's a good like Friday game, or it's a good, hey, the kids have been good, and we need to review this real fast. So let's uh let's bust out marker wars or whatever. But anyway, thanks for watching this. For those that are watching, I appreciate you. I can't wait to see not only these sentence stems in action, but also see who's brave enough to play a little bit of marker wars. But listen, student discourse can be scary for certain teachers because you're giving up control. Okay, you're giving up control of your classroom, you've given it to the kids, but if you practice it enough, you'll know what works for you and how to get these kids talking to each other because that's the best way that they're going to learn. All right, well thanks and see y'all soon.